For us, almost being to the point where we almost lost it all, it helped me understand that I'm the one that's breaking my back. I'm the one that's working the long nights, waking up early, missing time away from my kids. I'm the one that's doing all of that. Once I started to understand that I'm creating all of this, I can dictate everything that comes along with what I created.
You need to learn how to put people in their place respectfully and let them know that you're not their personal piggy bank.
Creating boundaries is so important. One thing that you need to understand is that people shouldn't always have access to you. And one thing that I learned in my life, that the only person that has 24 access to me is my wife and my kids. My brother don't even have 24-hour access to me.
A lot of people are people pleasers. They're people pleasers and they don't know how to create those boundaries. They don't want people to be upset with them. They don't want people to feel like, oh, I'm being rude, or nah, it's you protecting your peace.
Welcome to another edition of the Expose and Expand podcast show. I'm the man with the plan, Jeremy Mathis.
I'm Joshua. I'm going to give you the game, Mathis, and welcome to another edition of the Expose and Expand podcast show, where we expose you to the ideas, the strategies, the struggles, the failures, the people, and the experiences that have gotten us from zero to millions.
Nearly 1/3 of lottery winners eventually go bankrupt within 3 to 5 years, according to the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards. A stunning 78% of professional athletes go broke after 3 years of retirement, according to Craig Brown, who's a sports business division partner at NKSFB. And guess what? Your boys almost went broke when we came into money as well. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the things that you need to learn to do before you become rich, before you get money. This episode is something that's near and dear to our heart, and we want to help you avoid going broke once you come into money. We want to help you avoid what almost happened to us, because your boys almost went broke. Let's get exposed.
Guys, as always, man, we would appreciate your support. We want to grow the show, and we ask that you expose other people to the show. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on any of the podcast players, please be sure to hit that follow button and leave us a 5-star review.
Yes, guys. So today's episode is something that's close to us. And when we sat down, we had our production meeting. We was thinking about something personal, and this is something that's personal for us because when we grew up, we didn't have nobody in our family that had money. We don't come from money, and sometimes when people come into large sums of money, they end up losing it. I read those stats because, number one, I wanted to get them right, but I wanted to show you guys the alarming rates of what happens to people that don't have money then that come into it. And again, like I said in the intro, that happened to me and Josh. We came into money, we almost lost it all. So we want to talk about the things that you need to start doing now so that when you do come into money, when you do get rich, you can avoid potentially going broke or potentially having to file bankruptcy.
Agreed, man. This is an episode that, as you mentioned when we was in our production meeting, that's near and dear to us because not only were we almost, not only were we almost to that point, but we've seen, unfortunately, friends that we know who made a nice chunk of change, who made some money and are now not in a position of where they once were. And this is something that people need to understand. Financial discipline is so important amongst many other things that we're going to talk about today. So
guys, just so you understand, we have 7 things that you need to start doing right now before you get rich, before you go and get money. And we're going to break down the 7 things that you need to start doing.
And I think it's important for people to understand, like, guys, don't wait until you get money to start doing these things. That's where Jeremy and I almost went wrong. We waited till after we start making a little money to learn these lessons. So again, the purpose of our show is to expose you things. And this was a struggle. Also, maybe I don't want to say a failure, but it's a struggle that we had. So let's jump off the porch. What's the first thing that people need to learn how to do before they start making some money?
So before you start making money, the first thing that you need to learn how to do is say no. You need to learn how to say no so that you can start removing expectations. You can start removing entitlement from people's mind. So many people think just because you have money that you're supposed to do things. They expect you to act different. They expect you to be a different person and give them money and to do things. So one thing that me and Josh that we weren't good at before we had got money was we were poor. We were people pleasers. And when you're a people pleaser, it's hard to say no to people. And for us, when we first got money, we wasn't blowing it and giving it away, but there are a couple times where we should have said no. And that was one thing that we wanted to touch on. And, you know, when you say no, you need to prepare for the emotional and the psychological pressure that comes with that. Because again, people have expectations. Some people feel entitled. And when you say no, that's that emotional and that psychological pressure that make you feel bad, that make you feel like you need to do certain things when that's not the case. You work for that money. That's your money. So you definitely need to learn how to say no.
No, that was point number one, because I think that's one of the most important points that we have today. Most people don't know how to say no before money. Once you get money, it gets harder because you just think, oh, it's only $200. Oh, it's only $1,000. Oh, it's only $1,500. But if you're giving out money weekly or monthly or even every few months, you're putting yourself in a bad position. So no has to become one of your favorite words. And that's before you start making some money. For you, when do you think we learned how to say no? And what made us learn how to say no?
Almost going broke. As simple as that. When you're in a position where, you know, you got money coming in and you're doing well and you're very giving and you don't know how to say no, then it comes to a point which inevitably happens in almost everybody's life where times get tough, the road get a little rocky, and you don't know how to say no is tough for you. So for us, almost being to the point where we almost lost it all, it helped me understand that I'm the one that's breaking my back. I'm the one that's working the long nights, waking up early, missing time away from our kids. I'm the one that's doing all of that. And once I started to understand that I'm creating all of this, I can dictate everything that comes along with what I created. So for me, one thing that I wanted to touch on is that we had to learn to do things because we wanted to do them, not because other people expected us to do them. Before, people expected things of us and we would do it because we wanted to be liked and loved. We were seeking validation. And now we've learned that we want to do things because we want to do them, not because we feel obligated to do it because I created this. And because I created this, I can dictate what I created and what I do.
That's a great point, guys. I hope you guys didn't miss the point that Germ just made. Do things that you want to do. Not because someone else is forcing you to do, or not because you feel that pressure from other people. So that's definitely a great point. For me, the next point I want to make on what you need to learn how to do before you get rich is you need to learn how to create boundaries and have tough conversations. You have to learn how to create boundaries and have those tough conversations. And when I say create boundaries, it's helping people understand that they're not always, that they can't always have access to you. You don't always have to pick up the phone. You don't always have to text back. When you go to dinner, you don't always have to pick up the bill. For Germ and I, that was an issue that we had early on. We just wanted to show love, and we still show love, but now we understand that there's a boundary around that. And then also when it comes to having those tough conversations, you need to learn how to do that before you get money. You need to learn how to, as we just mentioned, say no. You need to learn how to put people in their place respectfully and let them know that you're not their personal piggy bank.
Guys, creating boundaries is so important. And one thing that you need to understand is that people shouldn't always have access to you. And one thing that I learned in my life, that the only person that has 24 access to me is my wife and my kids. My brother don't even have 24-hour access to me. He texted me last night thinking I was finna respond to him. I'm like, nah, like I'm with my family. And that's something that I had to learn because, you know, when you ain't got no money, you just walking around, you being nice and you are operating a little bit differently. But then I had to learn that I need to be able to create some separations. I need to let people know that just because you call me, I don't need to pick up the phone. Just because you text me, I don't have to respond immediately. I've created those boundaries so I can operate how I want to operate and do what I want to do.
Yeah. Why do you think people don't have boundaries?
That's a great question. Why people don't have boundaries? I think several reasons. Number one, they don't know that they need to create boundaries, because so often when you're growing up in school, you think about it. You don't know that you just want to be friends with everybody. You want to be liked. And that begins to, if nobody tells you that you don't need to do that, you continue to do that throughout your whole life. And for me, I had to learn how to create boundaries just from watching other people, because I remember I used to call people, they wouldn't pick up. I would text them, they wouldn't text back immediately. It'd take them a week or two. And I remember having a conversation with a dude who was like, dude, like, what you need to understand, this is my phone. I can pick it up when I want to pick it up. I don't have to pick it up. So that actually gave me permission. So I don't think I answered you. I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, it's somewhat. But again, I think understanding the point you made earlier, where a lot of people are people pleasers. Yeah. They're people pleasers, and they don't know how to create those boundaries. They don't want people to be upset with them. They don't want people to feel like, oh, I'm being rude, or it's you protecting your peace. That's one thing that I had to learn in my life, and that's a journey that I'm still on, like protecting my peace, understanding, like you said, people shouldn't always have access to me. When people are emailing you, when people are texting you, is 9 times out of 10 is because they want you to help them solve their problem. 9 times out of 10 is because they need something from you. You got people who show love. You got people who reach out to you and want to say hello, which is good. But most people who is reaching out to you, they probably want something from you, whether it's financially, whether it's emotional support, or there's some type of support that they want. And you got to learn to protect your peace.
Guys, I want to make sure you guys understood what Josh just said. Not everybody that reaches out to you wants something. He said most people. So don't always think because somebody's reaching out to you, they always want something, because that's not the case. Because we have several people in our life that we cannot help them, and they just reach out just to check on us. So I don't want you guys to hear that and be like, oh, they reaching out because they want something from me, blah, 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 blah. So let me make sure we put a little asterisk on that point. So point number 3 of what you need to learn how to do before you get money, before you get rich, is you need to understand the tax system. You need to understand how the tax system works. The reason why we came up with that point is because the first time we ran into some real money, we had Uncle Sam came knocking at our door, and it was a scary moment. It was a scary feeling for us. Luckily for us, we was able to produce enough cash to pay our tax liability, but that time was a stressful moment for us, understanding that the IRS is coming. They want their money. Uncle Sam ain't really your uncle. Yeah. He ain't really your uncle. That boy is not your uncle. He coming to get his.
He the house man.
And that boy won't interest with it. So guys, don't wait until you start to get money to start learning about taxes. And again, I want to preface that by saying you don't need to be an expert. We're not saying be an expert. We're saying understand how the tax system works so that you can structure your life, so that you can structure your corporations and everything to help you reduce your tax liability.
One thing too, I think we talked about it. I know we talked about it in I don't know what episode it was, but guys, if you're watching it, make sure you guys go check it out. Who Not How. And like Jerm said, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know the tax code step by step or line by line, but you want to have an understanding, so you know, okay, what impacts you. You want to have an understanding so you know, okay, hey, if I make X amount of dollars, I may have to pay X amount in taxes, because what you want to avoid is when you go through the year and then next year you get a tax bill and you don't have the funds to be able to pay that tax bill. Guys, that's not a fun place to be.
It is definitely not a fun place to be. It was our second full year of doing real estate. We had did really, really well, had done a lot of deals, made a lot of money. We had no rental properties, nothing to write off, nothing to expense, and we had a big tax bill. I think it was like, 60 or 70 grand or something like that. It was like 60 between 60 and 80 grand of money that
68,000 guys. Darren don't remember because he making too much money. 68,000.
And guys, it was scary for us. And our CPA, he sat us down and told us, guys, this is why you need to start paying quarterly. This is why you need to meet Safe Harbor. This is why you need do. And we start learning all of that, and we learn after the fact. So guys, make sure you have an understanding of the tax system. And again, you don't have to be an expert at it. You can go watch episode 17 where we talk about Who Not How, and you can get you a good accountant that can help you with all of that.
Good point. So the next step that we want to talk about and things that you need to know before you start making some money is financial management and wealth mindset. You need to know how to manage your money, budgeting, restraining yourself, delayed gratification. Those are important. Those are skills that you need to learn before you start making money. Because a lot of people, what happens is if you don't have financial discipline before you make money, when you start making money, it won't happen. right? So before you start making money, you need to have that financial discipline. One thing that is key, guys, and we've mentioned this before, and this is a key lesson that one of our mentors taught us a few years ago, is don't allow your lifestyle to catch up with your income. Most people, and this happened to your boys, where as we start making more money, our expenses quickly increase. And as your expenses quickly increase, you don't have any quote unquote safe harbor. You don't have any room to make a mistake. If you have a bad month, if you have a bad quarter, you're not going to have any room. So guys, please learn how to manage your money, and you want to create that wealth mindset now.
Yes, guys, financial management is so important. And it's often said that money magnifies who you are. It magnifies your problems. If you have bad financial management now and you have a bad financial mindset, money's only going to magnify that. It ain't going to change, guys. So right now, you need to learn budgeting. You need to learn the delayed gratification. You need to learn all those things that Josh just said, so that when you do come into money, you know how to handle it. Because for us, we knew how to delay gratification, but we had bad financial management skills. We thought when we get money, we was going to get better at it. The reason why we got bad financial skills is because we got all of these, we got expenses, we got bills to pay, and we got to pay them. And we got to do this and we got to do that. Guys, where you are now and who you are now, if you don't change that, money would only make it worse. I'm telling you that right now. So guys, start understanding the importance of financial management and the right wealth mindset.
It goes back to what you said, the point that you made early on when it comes to the athletes and these people that win the lotto. They have, just because you make 50 million, 100 million, doesn't mean that you're going to keep that money. If you have bad financial management beforehand, as you mentioned, it just only it only expands who you currently are. And you want to develop that healthy money mindset before you come into money. That's one thing that I don't want you guys to miss, because that's a mistake that Jeremy and I made. We didn't have a healthy mindset around money before we start making money. That's why early on it was a struggle for us to keep money. We would make multiple six figures and we was like, yo, where's all the money? You know? So it's important that you guys create that healthy mindset around money.
Yes. All right, point number 5 of what you need to do before you get rich and start making money is you need to build a wealth network. You need to start getting around other people that have money, people that have wealth, so that you can start having conversations with them, so that you can start understanding what they are doing to protect their money. This is critical because once you start building that network, you can start understanding how people, again, are protecting their money and what they're and the things that they're doing. So don't wait until you get money to say, I'm going to get around people. I'm going to start. No, find these people right now and figure out how you can get into that network. Again, figure out how you can get into that network and how you can add value to them so that you guys can start having money conversations and you can get a better understanding of wealth.
Guys, this is real game that we're giving you all. These are the mistakes that Jeremy and I made that we want you guys to avoid. Right? We waited late. We waited later on to start getting around the right people. We waited later on to start having those conversations and asking people what they're doing with their money. So you want to ensure that you start, getting around these people. But for someone who says, hey, I don't know how to get around these people, what do you say to that person? How do they get into those rooms? How do they get into those networks to start having those money conversations?
I believe we had an episode. On that talking about how to network, how to get in the rooms, how to raise private money, things like that. I think it's going to paid events. If you don't have money, figure out how you can make you some money and go and pay to go to an event. And when you pay to go to an event, you're in the room with other people that invested in themselves to be there. That means they have a different outlook on life. That means they want something different. Because you think about it, the people that want something free are not the people that you want to be around. You want to be around the people that's saying that I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to invest in my future. So figure out how you can make you some money. And all these paid events don't cost thousands of dollars. Some of them are a few $100s. You could go drive Uber and Lyft, make you a couple $100s and start going to some of these events so that you can start meeting people. And this was critical for us because once we start going to masterminds, we start realizing, okay, this is this person's tax strategy. This is who this person used to help them with their taxes. Here's how this person is investing their money. Because before we joined masterminds, I had never heard of a high yield savings account. I had never heard of different bond instruments that you could make that you could make money on your money. We had never heard about different things until we got into these paid groups. So even don't think that you need to make a whole bunch of money to be in these paid groups. Some of these groups are a couple $100 that you could figure out how to scrap together to get around the people to build your wealth network.
And it goes back to the premise of our show, guys. Exposure leads to expansion. Once you expose yourself to these individuals, once you expose yourself to these tax strategies, you can't unsee it. You can't unlearn it, right? So as you start making more money, you're at least prepared. You at least know. You're at least already exposed to these things. So, guys, make sure you get into the room. The next point that we want to make, that's in alignment with the point we just made on things that you need to know how to do before you start making money, is you need to have money conversations often. You need to be having money conversations every day. And that looks different for everybody depending on where you are. But you know where you should have a clear goal on where you want to get to. And if you have clarity on where you want to get to, right, you want to get around individuals who can help you. You want to get around individuals who are having those conversations. As Jerm just mentioned, once you start having those money conversations, you start understanding what other people are doing with their money. Not saying that's what you need to do with your money, but you start understanding, okay, boom, this person has a wealth advisor. This wealth advisor is putting this money here. This person is more conservative like me. So, because I'm conservative like him, let me understand what he or she is doing with their money. Or this person is a riskier individual. They're investing in these type of asset classes. They're investing into these type of things. So, guys, it's important that you're having these money conversations every day.
And like Josh said, guys, understand that just because somebody's making certain investments and they're doing certain things with their money, that doesn't mean that you have to do that. But you're being exposed to the opportunities that are out there. You are getting access to what's out there, which is extremely important. And then you're starting to understand what type of returns are they making on their money, and you're starting to have these conversations. Another point that I want to make about having money conversations is don't be afraid to have those conversations. People that are making money, people that are making strides in life, they like talking about money. Most of our conversations that are with our friends are filled with us talking about money. If you ain't trying to talk, if you around people that ain't trying to talk about how to make more money, what they're doing with their money, you're probably in the wrong group. I'm not saying you always and 100% of your conversations need to be filled with money conversations, but I would say about 75% of your conversation need to be filled with money and talking about it, understand it. Because if you coming from where we came from with no money, no background, the more exposure you get, the better it is for you. So don't be afraid to have these money conversations.
And for us early on, it was a struggle for us to ask certain questions and to have these conversations. But guys, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Right? You don't have to be perfect day one. Sometimes you don't even have to know certain things to have these conversations, but it's about exposing yourself. Getting, as we mentioned earlier, getting around the right people, and they start teaching you things. But it's on you to go back and do the research. It's on you to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask when you're having these conversations with people. If you don't know something, don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Right? There are so many resources now with ChatGPT, with Google, that you can go on, and if you hear something that you don't know, you can go onto one of these channels, and they can give you all of the information that you need about it.
But just going back to the point of building your wealth network and getting in the right rooms, we had to see other people in action talking about money, and that gave us permission to say, oh, we could ask somebody, you did this. Oh, how much money you made last year? Okay, what did you do? How did you reduce your tax liability? So we got permission from other people's actions because we was in the right room, and we saw like, oh, wow, they have open conversations like this about money. Because the way that I grew up, you don't ask people how much money they make. You don't ask what you investing in. You don't ask what type of returns. You just don't do that. That's what my mama taught me, right? And again, everything that your parents or the people that raised you taught you isn't always right. So that was a huge moment for us getting in those rooms and seeing like, oh wow, these people talk so freely about their money. Like, wow, we're doing something wrong. Yeah. So definitely wanted to make that point, guys. The last point that we have for you guys today, which we have way more, but again, we want to keep these shows we want to keep them short, sweet, concise, and to the point. The last point that we have for you guys today of what you need to do before you get money, before you get rich, is you need to understand legacy planning. You need to understand legacy planning, and what that is making sure that you structure your companies and you structure your assets in a way that benefits you, where you're protected, that benefits you for taxes, that benefits you, God forbid you pass away, where your heirs or whoever's going to inherit it, they don't have a big tax burden. For us, we were 5-6 years into our real estate investing journey, already having made millions of dollars before we even started paying attention to this. And that was a huge mistake, because we had to pay almost 15 grand to go back and restructure everything, which that became even more of a nightmare, because once we restructured how our rental properties were, we had to change certain names on our rental properties, and then increase the property taxes, which that cost us more money in the long run. So don't wait until you start making money to start understanding how to protect yourself and how to do legacy planning. And guys, again, we ain't saying it needs to be perfect. We don't want you to be perfect. Focus on making money first. Focus on making money first. But also, as you're making your money, you need to make sure that you're doing your research and talking to the right people to make sure that you're structuring things the right way, so you can avoid the mistake of what we had to go through of having at the time 20 rental properties in our portfolio, and then having to restructure all of them, and then losing our property tax cap because we changed the name on these assets. That's how we came up with that last tip.
Yeah. And then too, like, understanding that when it comes to it's not as expensive as you think to have the conversation, right? That they get an hour of a CPA's time or a trust attorney's time is cost you anywhere from $200 to $500, maybe a little more. But think about it. That's 1 month's worth of going out. That's 1 month of, instead of going on a trip, invest in yourself. So you start understanding these things, because you don't want to find yourself in situations like what we were in. As Jaron mentioned, like, our tax bill on several of our properties went up since we changed the name. Now we are protected legally, but if we would have done it right, if we would have do what we're advising you guys to do, we wouldn't have that issue.
Facts. So guys, I want to just make one last point, and it goes back to financial management. So Josh and I, we talked about, we said how we almost went broke, but I want to give you some more insight. Our financial management skills were terrible when we first started making money. And we had this mindset because we started real estate in 2016, 2017.
So February 15, 2016.
And all we saw was the market going up. And when the market is going up, everybody looks like they know what they're doing. Everybody is smart. We also had adapted this poor mindset of just saying, we're going to always make money. Money's always going to keep rolling in, and it's going to, our cash pile and the amount of money we make is going to continue to increase. That is not always the case, guys. Life happens. The market changes. Things happen. And and when things started to happen, and our financial situation started to shift a little bit, it got real scary for your boys. We didn't have much in savings, and things started to look crazy. So guys, understand the importance of financial management. And I wanted to share that story to help you guys understand how we almost went broke and what happened to us.
Yeah. No, that was a good point. But man, guys, I know you guys got value from today's episode. And again, a part of this show is we want to expose you guys to not only the wins that we've had, but some of the failures and the struggles that we've had. And this has been a struggle for us. And Jeremy and I have put it on ourselves to say, hey, we're going to be the generational change agents for our family. Our family will no longer struggle financially. Our generations after us will no longer struggle with financial management. And we've tasked ourselves with that. And if you're watching this and if you're listening to this, you can be the change agent in your family as well.
Yes, guys. Remember, exposure leads to expansion. We have our gentleman's agreement. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button because you got value. If you're listening, hit that follow button. And again, remember, exposure leads to expansion. Peace.
Expose and expand. Peace.